A protest was held earlier today outside the Department of Agriculture on Kildare Street against the exporting of Irish greyhounds to China's only racetrack in the city of Macau. It's reported that more than 30 greyhounds die there every month. To talk more about the reasons for the demonstration today, I'm delighted to be joined by Aideen Ural. She's the spokesperson for the Irish Council Against Blood Sports. Aideen, you're very welcome to the programme.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thanks for coming in. Firstly, maybe tell us about what this protest is all about. Maybe you might put it in some sort of context for us.
It's to highlight this trade in Irish greyhounds. Now, we only discovered this. An Australian animal welfare campaigner contacted Maureen O'Sullivan's office and explained to her that Irish greyhounds were coming to Macau to this canid-drum track, which is literally a hellhole for greyhounds. It's a destination to death, really. So Maureen contacted us and we got on the case and we decided we'd have to highlight the issue and with the Department of Agriculture, try and see what we could do to stop this trade in absolute misery. So we held a protest today. We've been in touch with various greyhound groups around the world. There's a group in America called Grey 2K. They've got a petition going, and to date there's 250,000 people have signed a petition calling on the Irish Department of Agriculture to stop the export of greyhounds to this dreadful track.
Okay.
And they want to close down this track in Macau. Animal welfare people have been trying for years to get this closed down. It's a track that the surface in the track is really hard on them. They're injured. They're racing 5 nights a week. If a greyhound is not placed in any race, in 5 consecutive races, if he does not place first, second or third, that's the end of that's lethal injection for that greyhound. No greyhound comes out alive out of that track. It's appalling, and it's callous of Irish greyhound owners.
Okay, let me just put a couple of things to you so we can just get some balance in this debate. In the Dáil last week, Agriculture Minister Simon Coveney said he was aware about the reports of this greyhound track in Macau, but that once appropriate animal health and welfare certification requirements are met, dogs, including greyhounds, may be exported internationally, including to China.
Yes, if the dogs are healthy going out there. But what about the end? What about when they're gone from our shores? It seems there's no interest in them then. He says he's an animal lover, and I believe he is, but he's really got to step up to the plate. He's got to think about their welfare when they get to Macau and what's going to happen to them there. It's appalling, really. It's kind of just turning a blind eye. And really, the Greyhound Board as well have been asking greyhound owners. They've no statutory powers. They can ask them, but I doubt if they'll do anything. I doubt if they'll stop sending greyhounds as long as they get money for them. And another thing we've been doing is we've been getting on to carriers, airlines, shippers, anybody who will facilitate the transport of these greyhounds. And so far we've got a very good response from these people. The only airline that is kind of turning a blind eye and saying, oh, well, it's none of our business. We that's our company. That's what we do. That is Lufthansa. And we're calling on Lufthansa today. If they stopped carrying greyhounds, that would be the end of it.
I believe Qantas and Cathay Pacific both stopped bringing greyhounds from Australia on the very point that you make.
Yes, and it's actually put a stop to that. But here we have had a good response from Emirates. They're another. They said they wouldn't do it. They won't be doing it. But Lufthansa are,
I want to just ask
Aidan.
And you're the spokeswoman for the Irish Council Against Blood Sport. Are you against greyhound racing in every track? What about Harold's Cross? What about Shelbourne Park?
Well, I would be concerned about greyhound racing. We campaign against live hare coursing, which is taking hares out of the wild and using them as lures for greyhounds. So we're campaigning against that. We have a huge concern for the greyhound. I think, our own industry needs to be looked at. Really, the greyhound industry needs to have the lid lifted on it because, where are all the greyhounds going when they're finished their useful life?
Just a point that I brought up with you earlier. What do you say to the greyhound owner who absolutely, and I don't know a lot of greyhound people, but I know a lot of them really look after and love their dogs.
Oh, yes.
Like, so they're involved in what they perceive as being a sport.
Yes.
They bring the dog to Shelbourne Park or Harold's Cross or wherever it is. They look after him, they feed him, they care for him, they love him.
But the end result is, they're racing their dogs to make money. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's it. I wonder what happens to these dogs after. Some of them get adopted, I know, and I spoke today at the protest to a greyhound welfare worker, and they're picking up the pieces of greyhounds who are finished racing, who are no good, who are considered no good on the track anymore, and they're picking up the pieces of unwanted greyhounds and greyhounds that are.
And have you the same views on horses? And again, could you argue that when a horse is finished, it's racing life, that the same thing arguably happens? Why aren't you petitioning against...
Well, horse racing has its problems as well,
okay.
Bobby, I'm afraid. There's horses killed at races, there's horses dying of heart attacks. It's a very sad case. And if we were to really open it, it would be a can of worms, I think. Okay,
there's a load of texts in, and maybe we might have a look at them, Aileen. The sale of greyhounds to China, the title says it all. Dear God, how can this even be considered? It's unconscionable. That's from Deirdre. Thanks so much for covering this. Greyhounds, please do as much as you can to combat animal cruelty. I wonder if the contributor ever does anything for homeless humans. Wouldn't it be great if there was a petition for the homeless families in Ireland? That's from Ed.
I am personally just as concerned, and I have great admiration for Father Peter McVerry and all those people who are campaigning on behalf of homeless. And I would be, if I see a homeless person, I empathise.
Okay, so you don't really see the two the two should be compared, or the two things should be. You're just as concerned as I am about homeless or about anybody else.
Absolutely, but somebody. This is our campaign. This is there are people campaigning on behalf of all sorts of issues, and we're doing this. And we make no apologies for it.
Look at Ken's text here from Selbridge, Aileen. I'm a greyhound owner and I don't export my dogs to China after the racing career, and I resent this woman saying greyhound owners send their dogs to China. That's from Ken in Selbridge.
Not all, Ken, that's fine. Not all greyhound owners are doing it, but some are doing it.
Right, well, he's one who isn't.
Well, good. That's great. And I'm calling on those people now to stop doing that, to stop sending the greyhounds to this horrendous track.
Aileen, we asked the Department of Agriculture to come in. We also asked the Irish Greyhound Board to come in. Both of them declined. But they did send us in statements. The statement from the Department of Agriculture is that once appropriate animal health and welfare certification requirements are met, dogs, including greyhounds, may be exported internationally. The IGB has recently advised all owners involved in the export of greyhounds to only export to destinations that provide the expected levels of care and management.
Yeah, well, you see, that has no teeth, Bobby. Because,
I'm just reading it out. I'm not saying I agreed with it.
Absolutely. That's all very nice and aspirational, but, at the end of the day, if there's money to be made, some people will do this and they will continue. And we're calling on, if Lufthansa, if everybody played their part here, the Department of Agriculture, if they put a ban on export to destinations where there's clear cruelty going on, they should ban it. Because after all, the Department of Agriculture is responsible for animal welfare and greyhound welfare, and not just within the confines of Ireland.
Okay, well, thanks for coming in. Thanks for making your case, and everybody's lots of texts. We'll get to them later. Thanks very much, Aidan, from the Council Against Blood Sports. Loads more coming up after this.